Hi there, I'm back. Okay, just to clarify, in the last video that I did, I forgot to mention, yeah, I was married, but I've been divorced since 2010. We split up literally right at the beginning of 2010. So just to make that clear. And secondly, I said that it had been renamed unstable personality disorder or something. It's been renamed emotionally unstable personality disorder. However, I just wanted to clarify that. Okay, right. What happened during 2010? I was working at the time still, and essentially what ended up happening was anorexia kicked in because I was so unhappy in my marriage, etc. And because I was working for the NHS at the time, they had a very good occupational health department that picks up on this. And the area I was living at the time in Warwickshire, I was signed off work to get well from the anorexia, but because at this point I had been given this diagnosis of the BPD as well, I was offered a therapy called DBT, which is dialectical behaviour therapy, which this book is exactly what the whole treatment is based upon. The author is Marsha M. Linen, and I believe she's an American lady. However, just to cut it all short, that was the last job I ever did. And I haven't been able to work since due to complications with my illness and the fact that it has actually deteriorated in the last 4 years, partly because my son, who is now 17, and obviously he's independent, he rides a bike, all the rest of it, motorcycle, all the rest of it. He lives with his father up in the Midlands, Warwickshire area, and it almost sort of gave me a purpose to. There was no longer the need to get him up for school in the mornings and iron his shirts and do all that stuff, and also another thing I really want to clarify is the relationship that I'm in now, which is going to be the last one that I'm ever in, because I love him absolutely immensely, and he's my soulmate. We both feel the same, and due to having had the treatment from this, I learned a lot about myself, and I said it didn't cure me, doesn't stop the anorexia, doesn't stop the self-harm, doesn't stop these things, but it is a brilliant treatment. What I'll do, I'll tell you how it's split up. The treatment essentially, in the area I had it, involved a one-to-one therapist who I'd see every week to discuss what was going on in my life personally and how I could use the skills that I'm learning via this treatment to improve my quality of life. And the group therapy, which would be once a week, also very, very small group. At one point there was only 2 of us in the group, and at one point there was, I think, 5. And the group therapy is where we would work through this, and we would also be given a card or well, an A4 sort of size card to fill in, where each day you had to rate, had you been feeling suicidal, you know, had you abused alcohol, had you done this, that, the other, and it's very, very, very good therapy. And to start with, I was very skeptical because no therapy had ever worked. Or, you know, I'd had CBT, I'd seen psychologists, psychiatrists, I'd been sent to this place, that place, I'd been in the Priory, I'd been in, oh, you know, you name it, I'd done it. Nothing has cured me. However, this is based around mindfulness, which, don't be scared off and think, oh, hippie, you know, put the sandals on and sit being, you know, the Dalai Lama, you know, it's not that deep. It can be, but it doesn't have to be. However, the categories are, let me just find where the categories are listed. Essentially, there is 4 what do you call it? You would spend, say, 6 to 8 weeks doing, for example, distress tolerance is one of the criteria that we covered, and how to handle distressing situations in a way that is non-destructive to yourself, to others, and you know, as I say, there's a whole, even here on, which I know you can't read, but it would take weeks to get through, and we would have homework to do based on it. So distress tolerance was one category. Another category, which I found them all really, really good, is emotion regulation. And again, I always remember at the start of that, when we started the emotion regulation category, one of the first things the therapist said to the group was, what's the reason for having emotions? And I remember I blurted out straight away, there's no reason. All they do is cause you problems, emotions, you know, better off without them. And as the weeks went on, and actually as that session went on, it was like, oh yeah, we were made to aware of the fact that actually emotions don't just have to be distressing. Emotions can be happiness, love, fear, you know, there's so many different emotions, anger, you know, you don't need me to tell you, you're intelligent people. And going back to caveman times, it was like, right, okay, well, if emotions are pointless, then you don't feel fear. So if you're fearless, then we'd never have made it as a human race, because if cavemen didn't feel fear when they saw a herd of, you know, lions rushing towards them, then they would have been eaten up, and therefore we'd have not evolved. So there is a reason. Emotions are trying to tell you something. So if you're feeling down, or you're feeling stressed, or you're feeling upset, or you're feeling angry, there's a trigger. There's always a trigger, and we got taught how to work backwards from, right, what am I feeling right now? What was I feeling before that? And work back, even if you write it down, which we're encouraged to do, to work back to the trigger point of, actually, the reason I'm feeling this way now is right back to what happened this morning, which at the time didn't mean anything, but now it does. And it's about wisdom. It develops you to have wisdom. So yeah, that was very, very good. Interpersonal effectiveness. Now again, this was extremely helpful with working out how to react to other people, and whether they be your boyfriend, husband, wife, girlfriend, partner, friend, even work colleagues, and actually how to learn to say no, or to say yes, or actually realizing when you're not capable of something, but instead of feeling that you have to do it out of guilt, or it's actually the whole module sort of went through it point by point of, you know, of keeping with the relationship. Like, okay, your boss at work's asked you to do overtime. This is for example. You can't do it because you've got another commitment which is more important, and you know that realistically he can ask, or she can ask someone else to do it, but also wanting to keep your job and keeping on side with the boss. So at that point, that's where you would actually use your interpersonal effectiveness skills and think, right, okay, I have to be confident here and say, right, I would really like to be able to say I can do this, but actually I can't because I have a prior commitment. However, you know, ask me again in future, because next time I might be able to say yes, and actually have the confidence to be able to do that and not feel downtrodden, or that you haven't got the right to be able to say that, and actually communicate in a way that gets the point across but keeps the relationship. So again, this is all scouting very much around the edges, but is very very important. And lastly, mindfulness, which is the core of it. Mindfulness is the core skill of each of those three mentioned, and that's about focusing on what you've got right here, right now, and not dwelling on the past or regrets, or it's about actually living in the moment, not sitting here worrying about tomorrow or worrying about, I mean, we all realistically have to plan, you know, right, okay, yeah, okay, so tomorrow I've got an appointment at 12, blah blah, but you do that and then actually stop for a minute and think, okay, wind's blowing, sun's out, yeah, quite a nice day. Actually, even if you just sit and listen for a couple of minutes to the birds tweeting, to car doors outside, and actually just spend 2 minutes, just take 2 minutes where you just, even if you just shut your eyes and think of nothing and just listen to any external sounds, and don't judge them, or, you know, or think, yeah, car door, just hear them. And again, this is another thing that it teaches you, is how to be non-judgmental, or spotting when you are being, like, quite often my mother will blatantly say when I'm with her and we're out shopping somewhere, you know, she'll say, oh my god, you know, look at the state of that, oh god, how can you let yourself get so enormously fat, or something like that. And I'll actually say, ma'am, you're passing a judgment. You know nothing about her life. You know nothing about whether she's ill, whether she's distressed, whether she's got emotional problems. And you've passed a judgment on her. And it's not so much, it's human nature to pass judgment, but it's spotting that you've made those judgments. And that's what's, and having the wisdom to actually know when you've done that and step back and say, yeah, okay, yeah, that's a judgment, that's a thought, that's what I'm thinking, but that may or may not be true. And it's learning how, and it does take a long time to kind of sink in all of this. It takes about 15 months to complete. You do each module, of which I say the 4 I've mentioned. You go through them twice, and then at the end of it, you carry on seeing your therapist for a little while longer, and then you're kind of left with all the knowledge that you have and all the skills that you've learned. And it really, really does help you to kind of understand other people, even if you don't like it or you don't like what you're hearing, but just to take a step back and actually think a little bit more carefully before you react. Sort of, you know, instead of, like, if someone keyed my car, for example, yes, I'd be angry. I'd be like, but then I'd think, right, okay, yeah, I do have the right to be angry because that's out of order. No one should have done that to me. That's bad. That's wrong. But then if I get in my car and say my dad's driven it, and there's not a lot of petrol left or something, I get in it and then I'm really cross because I think he's left me with, like, I've got to go in my petrol now, and then I'll think, hang on, just slow down a moment. He did you a favour because he went and got shopping for you. You told him to take your car, so actually stop with the anger, let it go and put petrol in. You need to go and do what you need to do, so don't waste your energy on anger. Just go and do what you need to do and put it into perspective. And I know it's easier said than done, and a lot of the time I don't do those things, but I actually am able to recognise now when I do those things. And yeah, it helps in all areas of life. As I say, it's not a cure, it's not magic, it's not anything like that, but what it is an eye-opener and a very, very, very good backbone for treatment for people with borderline personality disorder or emotionally unstable personality disorder. And to be quite honest, I've said several times, I think every human being in the world should have this treatment, because there are so many people who walk about with their heads up their metaphorical arses, who just float along in life thinking that, oh yeah, nice car, nice money, oh, I've got the perfect life, blah, blah, blah. And actually they're not seeing what's really around them because they're too focused on other things. And that's all I'm going to say for now. And if anyone's got any questions or wants to know anything more about borderline, my advice is to actually Google it and Google a lot about it, especially if you're a person that maybe hasn't got it, or hasn't been diagnosed but may be able to relate to any of this. I didn't stop talking. I'm completely and utterly worn out, and I hope I haven't bored everybody too much. I'm sure you will have already switched this off by now if I have, and thank you for listening, and goodbye. I will be vlogging later in a much more casual manner. Okay, thank you for listening. Bye.